We're live, Rick.
Okay, we are live. Welcome, everyone. Please share this broadcast with your friends and colleagues. My name is Rick Ulfik, and I'm founder of We the World and the We campaign at we.net. There you can learn more about We the World. I'm just going to fix a video here a little bit. Sorry. Today is day 6 of the 16th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity, September 11th to the 21st, which is the International Day of Peace. Back in 2004, We the World brought together global partners to launch 11 Days. This year, 11 Days is concurrent with the Up Convergence and Peace Weekend, an extraordinary alliance of organizations, including Unity Earth, the Compassion Games, the Sign Network, We the World, and over 100 groups that represent an unprecedented unity movement, which is, of course, what's needed now more than ever before. To learn more and participate in 11 Days of Global Unity and the 11 campaigns for change that go all year long, you can go to 11daysofglobalunity.org. And the 11 is a numeral, 11daysofglobalunity.org. Each year, We the World hosts the 11 Days of Global Unity TeleSummit with 11 powerful dialogues on each of the 11 campaigns for change. They're happening September 11th through the 21st, each day, starting at 1 p.m. USA Eastern Time. Today, day 6 of 11 Days of Global Unity is on the theme of children and youth. And we have a remarkable group of people to talk about this: Heidi Little, Chief Arvol Looking Horse, and myself. To start things off, I'd like to share a video called An Urgent Message from Your Children. It's a project that we collaborated on with our dear friend Carol Hart, who passed, unfortunately, recently. She was one of the people that helped to launch Sesame Street, and she collaborated with We the World to do this project, An Urgent Message from Your Children. And I'm going to share the video now so you can see this. This is an invitation to children from around the world to join this project. Stand by. Almost there. Here we go.
Attention!
Attention!
Can I have your attention, please?
It's urgent!
Urgent!
It's urgent!
This is an urgent message
from your children!
I feel really scared.
The environment is kind of just getting torn apart.
There's pollution, global warming, and people are just not caring about it.
Nature is getting destroyed. I mean, there's a bunch of law.
Oops. There's a little
Logging, there's water pollution, there's air pollution.
I'm really concerned about fracking because then we'll have no good water to drink.
Pipelines with gas inside, they can also explode.
And some people are throwing garbage in the ocean that makes the ocean polluted. So animals are also getting sick and can die out there. If animals are getting extinct, one day we're gonna get extinct if you don't stop.
This makes me feel mad.
It makes me feel upset.
I think it's terrible.
I feel ashamed because so far very few people are doing something about it.
We will be sad because we don't have anywhere else to live.
I'm worried that this generation will be ruined and there will be nothing left for the next generation.
If this keeps going, well, the whole world is really gonna collapse.
Just give me a minute, please.
If we don't stop this,
It will lead to a global disaster or even the destruction of Earth.
If we destroy all of this, then we'll have no other planet to live on.
People act like it's nothing and it won't affect them, but soon it will.
Sometime in the future, I may be dead, I may not. It's going to affect us all in some horrible way. And so if we do something now, then maybe we can stop that from happening.
I would want to do something about it, though the people who really have that power don't really care.
It's not like there's an unstoppable force doing this to us. We can choose not to, do this to the planet and the environment.
I want to live in a world where children could look out the window and not see a sea of sadness, but somewhere where things thrive.
We're probably gonna have to, evolve.
Hey kids!
Hey kids,
Wanna help us get the word out?
will you join us? Go to weyourchildren.org
WeYourChildren.org.
and upload your own video.
Upload your own video. Add your voice.
Tell your adults how you feel.
Tell your adults how you feel.
Tell your adults how you feel.
And tell your friends to join us too.
If we can get 1 million kids
A million kids!
to add their voice,
Then grown-ups will have to listen.
the grown-ups will have to listen.
Go to WeYourChildren.org.
WeYourChildren.org.
We are your children.
We are your children.
Okay. Yes, they are our children, aren't they? So let's start with my co-host for this broadcast, Heidi Little. Heidi Little is a vocalist, songwriter, performing artist, educator, and founder of International Children's Month and the Center for Advancement in Social Emotional Learning. Heidi is coordinator of We the World's campaign for children and youth. Welcome to the broadcast, Heidi Little.
Well, hi, thank you, Rick. And it's really nice to be here. I am really excited with our guests today and the work that we're doing for this day of action. So thanks for, being you and offering we to the world for like 20 years. Just want to salute you for that amazing
Thank you,
contribution.
Heidi. And you've been doing it for a long time too. Thank you.
Yeah, fair enough, but it's all good. And we've got someone with us who's done it longer than both of us, I think, because he started when he was 12. And Paula, his partner, is amazing also. So Rick, I feel like we need to jump to the chase and really figure out and dive into what Chief Looking Horse wants everybody to know about what's going on. And, today's energy is all about ending trafficking and stopping child abuse. And how can we do that? What's happening? Why do we need to do that? All those kinds of things. So
I wonder if Chief Looking Horse would want to kind of bring us into the circle with maybe a meditation or prayer, and then we can have our conversation. Would that be okay with you, Chief Arvol?
Yes, that'll be fine.
It's so wonderful to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Blessings to all of you.
mm-hmm.
Every day is a good day. It's a beautiful day that Great Spirit of Wakantaka gave us every day to, in our way, we always get up every morning with a good mind and start our day with good feelings and prayers for everyone, Mother Earth, and everything that is. Yes, I would say a prayer. Wakataka apetukile lawashte lawaka natonache ekponkiapi tonache kakijapi apetukile wakha noate chumakak na shukoya achwakana jukit kapi na uzani pikte ache oyate makakanache ta kimani pikte oyasi nwoki nwonglaki nache takukasha chama kakanache na pionkilapi nache tuakitrapi na chama kakan takukash na yua loaste loka nwokikte. Ask the Great Spirit to look upon us today in a good way, to help us and guide us. Give us blessings for all things, especially our children and our families. That this way of life is always a sacred life. Ask the Creator to help us, guide us, and know that there's always a prayer for all things. And I pray that today, that could always is a good way to start the prayer that way. Thank you.
Thank you. And it looks like we are also joined by Shannon Crossbear. Shall we bring her in too?
I don't see why not. Chief Looking Horse, do you mind having another Ojibwe grandmother in the room to hold space with you?
Yes, that'd be fine.
All right, great. She works on International Children's Month with me for 8 years, so she's been helping. Yeah, she's been helping hold the container for a long time, so that's good. I know she's happy to be here in support.
Yeah.
Great. Yay.
And
You're on mute, Shannon.
You're muted. I'll just mention that Shannon, who's also known as Wabaganis, is also working with the Interdependence Campaign, and certainly that kind of takes everything into account, doesn't it, Shannon?
Yeah. Well, Peter Maya, for your prayer, and I'm grateful. I'd say Chimigwech, Peter Maya, for opening, and we know some people. One of my sisters, Deb, I think she has got to meet you and speak with you. So I'm just honored to be in the same room, even if it's a virtual room. I'm still honored to be in the room with you. So, yeah. So I'm glad to be here to talk about these little ones and to think about what's happening with our women and our children and our girls and our boys and all of our children, right? And what we need to do for those sacred ones. So thanks for letting me come and spend some time with you.
Okay, I love you. I love everybody here. So Chief Looking Horse and I had a brief conversation yesterday regarding some of the things that his own reservation is facing. And where would you like to start, Chief Looking Horse? What do you think?
Yes, I'd like to say blessings to everyone for listening and being with us today. And every day, we want to send a message for our people of the earth. And today we talk about the children and their future. So it's very interesting. And I like to share my upbringing, and maybe that way I like to start like that as our way of life with our people, the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, Oyate. And those of you that want to say that it's a very important day we're at the crossroads, and that Mother Earth is a source of life, not a resource. And when the white buffalo calf and the white animals were born, the first one was 1994. And we warned that someday you would not be able to control what you have created. And that day is now. And I see a lot of changes. I've witnessed a lot of changes. Being a sacred bundle keeper at the age of 12 years old. And they put a headdress on me at the age of 12 years old. That means you're honored by the people to and learn about a leader, how to be a leader at the age of 12 years old. And that I want to share with the young people out there, because the way I was taught through our oral history and ceremonies, and today I still maintain our way of life here on our Dakota territory, and yet we're faced with greed and money, and so different from when I was raised by my grandparents. So I want to share about that today, because I feel it's very important, because I grew up like I always tell people, the dark times are always in the front lines of the Western society, the way that this place that we live in, and the way that I was taught as a young man that everything is sacred, and our rivers and sacred sites have a spiritual name. But today, the names have changed, and they're all very, I guess, different from the way they name our sacred sites, the rivers. And it's very hurtful to see that a very sacred place where the sacred bundle was brought. With all of our First Nations, Indigenous people, we call that place Matrotipula. But as I grew up with my parents going there to do our ceremonies, they call it the Devil's Tower. And I was young, and it really hurt my feelings, but I can't do nothing at the time, to know that such a powerful, spiritual, sacred site is like a church to us. It's a school to us, and a lot of our spiritual people go there to vision quest, to fast. So a sacred sites is in our language, it's a very I guess the way that the English word and our language, Lakota language, is very different. So even that, when after I became the sacred bundle keeper, I want to change, make a change here in our home backyard. That's what I call America. Like at your own backyard. We're the forgotten Americans that they put us here on the reservations, and they were concentration camps back in the 1800s. They starved the people, massacres happened, and our people went through boarding school, and so a lot of I guess our way of life. I always tell people that every story has two sides, and our side is still not really heard because of the way they treat us, and yet today. And I want to tell the world that we are still alive, and we have I just came back from a treaty meeting in Fort Laramie, Wyoming, and we told the people that this treaty is it's a very important treaty because it the way it says that we need to respect each other as people. There's many nations upon the earth, and we need to have a better understanding that we all share Mother Earth, and all of our teachings, no matter what nation you come from, when you go back into time, it talks about love and compassion and respect. And well, that's our way of life here as a spiritual person. And our elders, when I grew up, the elders really told me, at the age of 12 years old, how to be a spiritual person, not to have anger, hatred, jealousy, and all those things. And they told me about our words was very important, because when you say love or anger in the English word, that's very hurtful. But like love in the English, in our sacred language, there's no foul language. It's about health and well-being. There's no foul language. When you speak Lakota, like the word love, you show your love by living that day. It's a way of life by respecting all life that is sacred. The trees, the animals, and we pray for them. The rivers, we came from the Star Nation, and we live this life in a beautiful way. Then we get done with this life, then we go back to the Star Nation again. So during this short time here, though, we were brought here as in our stories, it goes back to the teepee. Teepee, no, we don't live in teepees today, but no, there's some things that never change, is the woke, the law of our people, how to live. And a child has to be born in a teepee because it's a direct connection with the Star Nation, the moon, the sun, and we stand upon the earth as so when a child is born, in a teepee, it's a very sacred energy that comes from the Great Spirit, the Creator. And then when a child is born, then we have a midwife that received that baby, and give that baby back to the mother. And it's a ceremony. So everything's a ceremony in our life. Everything has to be put through a ceremony. So the mother takes care of that baby, and they nurse that baby. She nursed that baby with love and compassion. And our elders said, no, someday things will be different because the mothers will no longer nurse the baby with love and compassion. When you bottle feed a baby, that baby would be sickly and not wouldn't have, the love and compassion. So the father has to be there to take care of that afterbirth when a child is born. So there's an equal balance in our life. And the sacred bundle I take care of is it's a very ancient bundle that was brought 19 generations ago. Every generation is 100 years. And today I'm the 19th one. And today, we still try to maintain the way our prayer is that everything's all related. Therefore, when a child is born, and then that child is being raised by the community. So that child has a lot of grandmas, grandpas, and family, because a child's being taken care of that way being raised by the Tioshpaye, the camp. So with love and compassion, that's our way. And so that child is have a lot of respect. And so when a child is born, after that, the second stage is it's called becoming the age ceremony. So that me and my wife Paula, we do that ceremony today, and she does the womanhood ceremony, and I do the men. Because at the age of 12 years old, everything has to be put through ceremony, and then you become healthy. Happiness is healthy. It's so everything that you do, you become a young man. With everything, the love and compassion. So they teach about like me, I can't carry a gun, a weapon. That we have societies that take care of that. Or a child like me, when I was young, he told me not to use any foul language. And that really stuck with me, that ceremony today, I never use foul language. And so sometimes we go some places and we have security, and I always tell people, no, we don't really believe in weapons. We're spiritual people. I'm sure that a lot of spiritual leaders are that way. We can't put our mind has to be good to greet people in a good way. And the way we live our life in everyday life, it's a example for our children. So we do everything through prayer. And so our life is living with this beautiful environment that we are living in. It's so all the sacred sites again and the rivers, they all used to have all spiritual name by the indigenous people, spiritual people, First Nations, you might say. But today we are faced with a lot of anger, a lot of violence, and I can't believe how things are today because I was not brought up that way. I was brought up a spiritual person to stay in prayer, to greet people in a good way. But we have a hard time today because our loved ones, when somebody is sick in the family, it affects the whole family, it affects the whole nation. When we lose a relative, it affects the family, affects the whole nation. And today, we're faced with young people committing suicide. We never had that suicide before because our children are brought up to respect the mind, the body, and spirit. So we never experienced that before, or never. Long time ago, the elders they talked about our way of life, where in our language, there's no foul language, there's no anger, and so it's the way that we were taught is no, we have societies and we protect our territory, our warriors protect our territory. But as spiritual people, when we go to a sacred site to do ceremony, if other tribes were there, even though they might be fighting over the territory, the spiritual medicine people, they sat together and prayed together because we all believe in a creator. And but in order to go there, we got to have a song and a prayer to so then our people that are going to camp there, they dance in a circle. So the grass is laid down, and then when you go there to do our ceremony at a sacred site, then when we leave, we don't say goodbye. We say doksha. That means this is that means later. Doksha means later. That the life continues in a good way. So the camp is very important, and we leave that camp. We don't leave nothing behind. We take everything with us. So at the sacred sites, and it's like a church to us. And the water, the Maniwichoni is it's in our creation story. The first in our creation story is that Iya, we call Tunka, there's a rock. To us, we call Tunka is the Tun is birth. Tunka is the ancient ones. That's what we call the grandfathers, the rock nation. And then the second spirit is Maniwichoni, the water of life. And so the water was pure and very has a lot of good energy. And then when it came together, it brought this the hot rocks and the cold water bring this wowaka. It's a energy that it created. It's the breath of life. So when we were young, they tell us these stories that as these stories are like the oral history in a traditional way, that that way we grew up with a lot of feelings, a lot of compassion, no anger, no hatred, but we respect the earth for what it is. We pray for the two-legged, the four-legged, the winged ones. And that's why we say, we'll say, mitakie oyaste. That means everything is all related in a spiritual way. So that's the way I grew up. But today, it's kind of sad because when I go home on the reservations, a lot of our young people are at the border patrol, standing to protect our people from the virus or the camps that are being made right now. And where I live, 100, not even 100 miles, but 60 miles from where I live it's called a man camp. And it's being built right now. When we've been facing with the pipeline since about 3 years now. I think we're at Standing Rock. We're there to protect the water, and the crude oil that they're from Canada, very toxic oil. So if it breaks, it's going to affect our water. And I want to share a story with the children, because when I grew up, the elders talked to me about Crazy Horse. He never wanted to sign the treaty because he really respect the environment and the trees and the water is sacred. So how can we sell or make treaty over land like that? It doesn't, we don't own the land. No, we take care of that land. So, Crazy Horse, I admire him. Then I was living in my home where the sacred bundle is. They said that along that river, that Ihawakpa, or Mara River, they call it today, there was so many teepees camp. And this is a story I made, is that I imagine myself in Crazy Horse's time. It said Crazy Horse was camped 5 miles west from Greengrass, where I live. So I was riding my horse, and I overlooked the rolling hills and the river. And I was imagining all these people living in that teepees along the river, many horses. And there was a lot of laughter, and people camped along the river with, making fire, and then singing songs, And then I imagined that. And then we prayed to the west for the thunder beings. We always, we would go with the 4 seasons of ceremony to do our ceremonies. That's the way of life with the 4 seasons. In the springtime, on March 21st, we do a ceremony called the Welcoming the Thunder Ceremony. So I was thinking about the camp and it was springtime. And then in my mind, I looked towards the west. And I saw a little cloud in the west. And I was sitting, thinking. And then I looked up again, and how fast that little cloud came to be a big black cloud. Wakiuyate, I thought. The thunder beings are coming. And then all the people were getting prepared. You know, they all put their things away. All the dry meat that was hanging outside, and all the people were taking things off and putting inside their teepee. And I imagined myself laying there. And it started out with the wind. I can hear the wind in the trees, and it's going. I can hear that wind. Then I start to hear raindrops, big raindrops coming down like this. And then pretty soon, I hear more rain. And everybody, all the kids, you know, slapping their fingers like this, making that rain hard. And then pretty soon it started to slow down. So I was laying there. I knew that more rain was going to come. And sure enough, that the thunder beings came and Wakiuyate, and it thundered and lightning, and then I heard more heavy rain, really coming hard like this, and all the kids flapping me. That's what I was imagining, the sound of the rain coming down and hard on us. And then pretty soon it, for a while there, then it stopped, and then, so I was laying there. Then I opened my eyes and I looked towards maybe an hour later, I looked towards the east. And whoa, what a beautiful cloud. So I asked the children, what do you see in that cloud after the rain? A rainbow. That's what the Great Spirit gave us. All the colors of the earth, the trees, the river, the sun, morning, evening. This is the gift of life. So beautiful and precious. And now we are part of that environment today. So that's a story that I want to share with the children. How beautiful, you know, life is. The Creator gave us all this mind to choose good or bad. And I pray that, you know, all the children would be blessed with this beautiful life and with love and compassion. So that's the story. I'd like to have my wife talk now, Paula.
Thank you. I haven't heard that story for a while. It's always beautiful. I wanted to touch on the youth today, what they're facing. And I think that, you know, the foundation that Arvol speaks of and the stories, and we grew up really similar. We were both raised by grandparents, and both only spoke the language, and fortunately he remembered the language, and I rebelled because my Kushi couldn't speak English, and when she left I didn't want to speak to anybody in our language, and I I understand a lot, but I'm not as fluent as him, but I'm getting there. I wanted to touch on something though that this topic is about with the children, what they're facing, and you know, Heidi, you helped us sponsor a Zoom on June 21st, and I really wanted one of the young women at the border to come on, and her name was Nicole Yanes, and we were asking people to talk and to share what they're going through in their territory, and she waited through the whole 4 hours, I think, just to say her message, and it was the most powerful message, and it was really asking prayers for the border and with the assaults on the children and the mothers and the families. And it was really you know, special to hear that, and it really brought to light the disease of the mind that has contaminated the world, that throughout time, the, you know, misogyny, as they call it, to that, you know, a lot of times women are servants and disposable, and children are not, especially if it depends on what leader is there, you know, what child is important. And I think that everything that Arvol spoke of, that, you know, all children are important. There's that when you create that hoop of awareness and energy, they're the same. And a lot of times, you know, I and Arvol, we get young women or young men that adopt us, and in our ways, you know, my mother was an orphan, and her mother died giving birth to her, and she always, and you know, so she was kind of passed around because apparently my grandfather was trying to work, and he had, you know, these children, and so they all ended up getting passed out, you know. And fortunately I had my Kushi, my grandmother, but my original Kushi is from Canada, Sioux Valley, Canada. But the thing that I noticed, even today, living on a reservation, my mother's adopted family, they're my family. It's not even a blood thing. It's I'm related to all these people that my grandmother was related to, and I find myself sometimes correcting that, saying, well, you know, they're not my real blood family. It's my sister's blood family, you know, like that. Even my sister's family is my family. And I think that I have to catch myself, because there's that nurturing that Arvol talked about of the village raised a child. There's not you know, half or step or you know, you got to explain sometimes it's who God, because they're a whole nother nation, but they're really not. They're the same. They're, because you got to create and provide that hoop awareness all the time. Otherwise you create hierarchy, and that has happened with a lot of families. And then there's the ones that aren't even paid attention to. So there's a lot of damage there and favoritism. And so we have that a lot on the reservations, and families that are raised in boarding schools like my mother was, and chose to, you know, I guess, block out the issues that of what she was raised with, and with in her time alcohol, and fortunately, you know, my grandmother took care of me, but today that's a symptom, and it's symptomatic everywhere. And it came to this awareness now with them, especially the murdered and missing. The young people are subjecting themselves to precarious decisions, I guess, not so wise, and it's for some reason they're attracted to that energy. And that's something that we had a coming of age at that Arvol spoke of it, and between young men and young women, and that negative energy is always there, and so you have to like keep smudging, because that's the main teaching ground when a child is 12 years old, and it's always trying to impose. And so when we had it at this place called Shija Hollow, there's a legend there where this man came into the village, and he had the best, well, he was really pitiful, but he was the best at hunting, and the best at telling stories, and the best at everything. And the young people were really attracted to him. And so he taught the young warriors or hunters how to hunt, but he started teaching them to take more than what they needed. And so they just put this this warrior, his name was Hand, not bad, and he just started teaching them about not caring, about killing and taking life, and taking things for granted. And then the elders in the village, and it must have been really crowded there, because where Shija Hollow is, it's real quiet when it's storming out, and it's really kind of in a cove in a valley along the Continental Divide. And so people used to just stay there and prepare for winter and ride the winter out in that area, because it was so full of medicines, and they move in the fall. And so when this started happening with Hand and these young people, the elders were, warning the young people, don't be taking more. That's not what we taught you. Don't take more than what you need. And they wouldn't listen. And Hand would say, they're old. You don't need to listen to them. And, you have to practice on these animals. And, sometimes, other animals need to eat them. And he was like really distorting the original teachings. And so then he started noticing the young women, and these young warriors start getting older, and rather than the teachings that Arvol does with the young men, to take care of the children and things that he shared about life and bringing life with a young woman, he just was like, well, we could, if you be really quiet, you could grab a woman under the teepee and pull her out, and you could just take her as your wife. And of course, that's not the proper way, with approaching a family, to take a woman. And but this is what he was teaching them. And so the elders were really upset, what was going on, and he kept teaching them. And they said, well, he's got to leave, because you young people are changing. And the young men were like, oh, we'll talk to him, we'll change, please don't let him leave. He's teaching us so much. He has really cool songs, and the songs were more of power rather than empowerment in teaching, because a lot of our songs, praise creation, and praise, Great Spirit, and praise people when they get their name. It's more of praises. And his songs were of, I'm strong and I'm tough, and it wasn't like that anymore. So there were many areas that were affected with what he was teaching, and destroying the original teachings that we carry with the 7 virtues and values, not to respect each other, not to lie, and not to be humble, and to be wise in your decisions. All of those things started to deteriorate, and then the young people started to lie for him. And so the elders got together, and they said, we just need to force him to leave now, because the energy got really huge, And so the older men, they went to go get Hand, and they grabbed him and they said, we're going to escort you out now. And it's getting better out there. You're strong now. You're not weak and skinny, and you got clothes now, and you got hides to keep warm. Here's the horse. And they started to get rid of him. And the young people rebelled. And of course, the older people were, vigilant and say, no, trying to put down their foot, but they waited too long. And they start fighting, which was a big no-no. And they were like choosing Hand. And it got so bad that there started to be bloodshed between the young people and the elders. And it was like the biggest taboo, to happen to assault an older person and a relative. And young people were blind with whatever medicine that Hand gave them, that disease of the mind, and that disrespect and the lying and the challenging, and not being humble and boastful about themselves. And it just went out the window, and they start fighting the older people. And so when that started to happen, it started to rain, and it wouldn't quit, because they spoke of the ground just started to be red, and the bloodshed, and it didn't stop. It kept raining and raining, and pretty soon that whole valley, that whole and it's huge, that coulee, as you call it, it started to fill up, and the people started drowning. And they say that Hand started floating, and he floated underneath some roots, and the roots squeezed him and held him, and they couldn't get him out from the roots. And then it kept raining, and then this one of the chief's daughters that was really humble and a good woman, she put on her best, and she walked to the top to plead for the people on top of the hill, and it wouldn't stop. And then she started crawling up the tree, and she kept crying. And then she went to the top of the tree, and she kept crying for her people. And pretty soon the whole earth was filled with water. And that's the great flood that happened all over the world. And so she fell asleep, and an eagle came, and it was a man in the form of an eagle, and he took her to a really high place, and she stayed, and he fed her fish and to survive. And then slowly the water went down. But I feel like it coincides with Pipestone, where a sacred stone is. And my daughter, who goes to school in Hawaii, she takes anthropological biology, and so she always tries to tear apart Arvol's stories. And one of the stories she tore apart was not tear them apart, but to understand and comprehend, because they're not just a fable. And one of the things that she called and said, I investigated the red stone, and we feel it's sacred. We can't sell it, in which all over the world they're selling our blood of our people, we call it. And it's the real blood, we've always said that. And she said, Mom, that when you look in the Pipestone, it's got crystals in it. And, in our ways, we stay away from crystals, because we don't know what entities come through them. So we don't have them in our home. We only pay attention to the ancient grandfathers that Arvol spoke of, the Tunka Oyate, the ancient ones. But the crystals are very powerful. And in our ways, we only had selected few, very, very few, that control the entities that come through, good and bad, because you could open up doors where entities can control you and pretend and put on masks. And with this pipe, she said they're really tiny crystals all in there. And to me, it's the portal to the Tunkawayate, to our ancestors. And then the other thing, it has the same amount of iron as our bodies. And so and she was like, Dad, you're right. That's the blood of our people. And that's it, it's, so it's really interesting. Of course, then the stem is the wood. And to me, it's more than that, because that tree saved that young woman's life for the people, to hold her up there. And so today, those connections and stories have been lost, those teachings. And hand represents today. Hand represents the meth. Hand represents the trafficking. Hand represents the bad words and the tall tales we tell each other to make ourselves more higher than each other rather than the hoop. Hand represents all those ill wills that humanity, before we blame everything on the non-natives that came across the ocean, those teachings, those negative energies were always here, but not to the bigger extent that has been introduced, over the waters, but just the mind itself, that disease of the mind of controlling your behavior with older people and with younger people. Those decisions that were important to one another. So, and like Arvol said, a village raised a child. There was no differentiating. There was, you had to get along, and you took care of everybody's children. And there were hard times where mothers, like my mother's mother that died giving birth, it must have been prevalent back then, because they always said that there was a special place for mothers that died giving birth. And they said that they were always in a special place because they give the ultimate, for life to happen. So my mother used to always tell that story. And so today, it feels like that disconnection has happened within our people. It's a linear thinking, and we're all a part of it. We're all guilty of, because we're living in that society that doesn't nurture the I guess the sacredness of life that Arvol speaks of in the stories that the innocence that nurtures children, because we grew up rough. And I always tell children, no matter what, even though my mother was an alcoholic, she came out of it. And, no matter what, you have to forgive. You have to let go. Otherwise you carry that. And when you carry that I guess that ugliness, then you become ugly, and you make ugly decisions, and you blame people. And I think that the forgiving is one of the most I guess hardest things, but you can't force somebody to do that either. It's got to be natural. And so there's a lot of children that are hurt today, and that's what's needed to happen, is to create that power of forgiving, that awareness of nurturing. And we need to forgive when we're hurt from our children as well, because otherwise it affects us. And then we unknowingly, with our ill will towards people or our families, we create more hurt, and it never goes anywhere. It just stays. And so I think that right now, what's going on in the protection of our children, of our young women, and that are, especially with the man camps that have happened, the trafficking, the sexuality that's happening as an income. Some women choose that, because they never went to coming of age, because or they did and they don't care whether they did or not, because they're in that disease of the mind. I think it's really important that we start again with our young people to tell them these stories, to share these nurturing medicines that can disinfect the minds, to understand the power that that lies with those 7 values and virtues, and the forgiving.
So
I think we're about over, right?
In closing, I'd like to say that we as spiritual people, we believe in a way of life here. That in that circle, men or women, we're a part of that circle of life, and we have no choice but to live this life every day with the sun and Mother Earth and the cycle of life. So we have to always stand in a good way every day in that circle that we call Changleshka Wakha. And that's why I always say all nations we're all have equal respect. There's no one person higher than the other, and there's no nation higher than the other. We all respect each other because there's one creator. Oh, I'd like to say that much. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate all of that. And I just want to ask you, because I think it's really important. Your reservation is being faced with a man camp getting built right there. And what do you need? How do you guys think we can come together to, put an end to this? My whole thing is education and then calling on people to work together, right? Which is essentially what you have just done. That's exactly what you did. We have shared stories with you, and you've shared valuable lessons. So for right now, you've got warriors there trying to protect the people from the man camp that has hired police on their end, not your end. They're there, and so what can we do to help you?
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
The man camp, is that because of some kind of oil extraction or pipeline or something? Because that can connect with many organizations that are trying to reduce, minimize, and end that practice. Is that what it's about, Chief Arvol?
The man camp is these are the men that are working on the pipeline from Canada. And it's all about money. There's so much money involved. They're just throwing that money out to them, and they're just working hard. But these are men from all over the world. They're coming in, and they don't. There's no restrictions. There's some pretty dark men that are coming to, and they want to. There's a sex trafficking that is happening, and they're taking missing and murdered women, and it's but it's not only the man camp, but we got a lot of women are being abused all over the world, and through sex trafficking, and that's what I want to say something about that.
I think that what your question was is how can you help the reservations that are being affected by these practices? I think more and more it's awareness. And one of the messages from the very beginning in 1996, when we started World Peace and Prayer Day, of all nations, all face one prayer, it was always, and it's how many years later since 1996, it's to move towards sustainable development as fast as possible. and nobody would listen. And in 1994, when Miracle was born, the first buffalo calf with the black nose, black coat, and Miracle was an anomaly within an anomaly, because we always respected white animals, and we've never taken a life of any white animals, because of white buffalo calf woman that went over the hill, and became, a white calf. That's where she got her name. And so we've always, had a lot of reverence with white animals. But with a Miracle, we knew she was different because she was an albino. And that in itself, when she was born, was in 1994, the first time they announced global warming. And everybody was like, what's global warming? And so when we had ceremony with her and we started World Peace and Prayer Day, it was like, we need to pay attention, because this is called the crossroads. And, as Arvol's words were, either be faced, how is your words there?
Yeah. We are at the crossroads, either be faced with a lot of chaos, disasters, tears from our relatives' eyes.
Or we can unite spiritually.
Yeah. We'll see great changes with the environment. We'll see volcanoes erupting, and we'll see earthquakes happening, and a lot of changes with global disasters would start happening. That was 1994. Or we can unite spiritually in this global community, as we are the protectors of Mother Earth.
And so with that, it's about energy. It's like you could walk into a room and somebody doesn't like you, right?
Right, yeah, sure.
And you feel it in your abdomen, your umbilical cord. Yeah. To me, and our understanding is that's your ancestors always are there with you, and they're giving you that gut feeling, that instinct. You're not in a safe place, or somebody doesn't like you, or you walk into a room and somebody likes you, and you feel those butterflies. So your gut feeling, that connection to all your ancestors, never goes away. And so that's something that we really teach with our World Peace and Prayer Day, is to find your umbilical cord, because it goes all the way back to the connection of your responsibility to saving the earth. And that's in itself, I used to always say, what's wrong with these man camps? Like, those guys that are out there and they don't care. They're, out there alone with no woman. They work in the fields all day. They're in this oil, and they go to town and they get drunk, and then they get impaired, because to me, drinking calls negative energies, entities, and they start walking with them. And the next thing you know, they've done something wrong. And you know what? They adopt that wrongness, and they just keep doing it because their values just went out the door. And they may have been raised with really good families. And you hear of horror stories of people that say, I raised him good or her good. What happened? And then there's kids that weren't raised good. But to me, it all goes back to Ukjehila. And Ukjehila is the dinosaur times. And the dinosaur times, they ruled the world, and we were in caves and all over the world. And this world was so abundant with the right temperatures and the right growth and the right energies, that the foliage just got thick, and the animals got bigger and bigger and bigger. And pretty soon they just start crashing everything that, there was no control in their sizes, and they just got huge, and we were stuck in the earth. And we also had telepathy, and so we would go out, and they would watch us, because we must have tasted good, for those that don't like humans and two-legged. And so what happened was all the people that were within the earth started saying, we're not going to survive anymore, because the telepathy got stronger. And something happened it switched, and all of them, you know, went into abyss inside the earth. And when they did, there have been oral history that was passed down with Umjagila that said, one of these days we're going to come back. We're gonna take over, and we're gonna get you back for what you've done to us. Your desire, your intention has taken us, so we're gonna get you back. And so I learned that story because the grandmothers at camp kept saying, "You better go to bed to my son, or Nkjagila is going to get you." And I was like, "Who's Nkjagila?" And then they start telling me that story. And so what I realized then with that story is that that's the oil. Those bodies within the earth were the oil. And if that was their last warning of we're going to come back and get you, that hatred, that anger within that black oil is carried, because those oil bearings and those that work in the oil fields, they're like almost possessed, or they have no values, they have no care in the world but to make money. And they don't heed that we're concerned that their workers are taking women and men and children. I remember there was a big tornado that hit up by Fort Berthold Reservation, and there was a young man that was missing, and this tornado tore through a man camp. And here it was the only way they found this young boy, and he was getting passed around in that man camp, you know. So it's like something happens to them, something wicked happens to them when they work with oil. And it's really hard because even us having to the governments and the leadership doesn't change to move towards sustainable development as fast as possible, and we have to drive cars with gas. We're dependent on it, and then they accuse us of it. They turn it on us and say, well, you're using our transportation, you know, what are you going to do without the oil? But yet they don't create jobs for sustainable development. And maybe if, you know, young people like the ones you showed in the beginning, that's what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? Maybe if they showed that we care about their future now, maybe if there is companies that come out with sustainable development and we start caring for the earth, what little, you know, scientists say that we're at a point of no return. Well, in our ways, we're not supposed to think that way. We can say that, but we've got to keep believing we could turn it around till it's like, okay, you know. And so with that, I just hope that we can create sustainable development as fast as possible. And I hope the leadership can change and some miracle can happen.
Yes, I think so. Boy, that was so beautiful to hear the stories that you have talked about with your childhood, and the stories like with oil, and that's why they call it fossil fuels, right?
Right.
I was thinking about that story with the dinosaurs, but that's it. That is why they call it fossil fuels. So hopefully we will turn things around.
Right.
I have one more story. Is that you know, we hold the women sacred, and they give life. And Grandmother Earth is today is sick and has a fever. And in our creation story, and today, like it's about that tree of life. That tree of life is in our heart. So you look at the heart and all the blood vessels, the veins, it's like a tree. And the afterbirth, and that's why the men have to take care of that. And then Crazy Horse's time, Crazy Horse said that he foresaw the future, how bad it was this in his last vision, the way humbly, that he saw the future very bad. And then said it even got worse. And he never shed a tear in that. When he shared that story, he started to have tears in his eyes. Then he saw at the end, he saw that tree of life and all these nations standing under in a circle around that tree. And today, I mean, our creation story now we share is goes way back to the life of Mother Earth. From the satellite view, they never had satellite view, but the satellite view of Turtle Island, it looks like all the rivers and creeks and streams that goes into the delta, the Mississippi River. It looks like a tree. You can see that it looks like a tree goes into towards New Orleans into the ocean. So, and that Mother Earth is like that, the tree of life. Then our sacred Black Hills looks like an open heart. They put a red fluorescent light on it. All the rivers and creeks and streams, it looks like an open heart. And that's, if you really think about it now, that tree of life is the water that all the rivers and creeks and streams. That's why we have a sacred name to these creeks and rivers and streams, because it's all life. We look at life in a sacred way. So I want to, we fast forward the 4 seasons of the Black Hills. It's a heart that's pumping, and we say heart of everything that is. So that's what I want to share.
Thank you.
And Heidi, so before we finish, I think we have to finish in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, probably. So. I hear you.
So I wondered if you want to talk about the other things that are happening for the Children and Youth Day that you have planned, and then I'll do a closing.
Sure. Just first off, I just wanted to call everybody to action to pray for these men who are in these man camps, that they can be disconnected. Let's send our energy to disconnect them from this darkness and ask the light to just shine right into it, into that. I literally can see the oil like a river, and just like our water river going in and just creating a space so these men can get themselves away from that energy that's hurting everyone. I think it's a point of transformation for that predator energy, transformation of and pray for their light and their love to be restored. And I think if all of us do that today at some point, we're going to see a shift. So let's go for critical mass this day on our prayers for the men and the women in this world who are connected to the darkness, to be light shine on them. I want to thank Paula for sharing her stories, and Chief Looking Horse for the wisdom. The pair of you are outstanding. And when a buffalo herd runs together, they put the babies, and especially the white babies, in the center, and they protect the white buffalo. They protect the babies. So I believe we are here to help take care of Chief Looking Horse as the 19th generation peace bundle carrier, white buffalo, calf woman bundle carrier. And when we take care of him, we're going to be taking care of everyone. Just like when we take care of our children, we're going to be taking care of everyone. So this day is a day of action for the children and youth to stop trafficking and child abuse. And how do we do that? We be radical love. And so this day left, we have a children and family writing workshop with Jackie next. And we're going to shut down the live stream and come back on again in a couple of minutes and start that workshop. Then I've got a round table with some women who we're going to embody and raise the roof. Paula, feel free to come back in at 2:15 if you want to for radical love in action.
I'm going to dig grits today.
Oh, good. You get down with that, Mama Earth. We love you, and we love the Earth. Yay. We're also going to do Bikers Against Child Abuse, and I'm going to help connect Chief Looking Horse with this group so that they can call, your women and your children can call on these guys to come and help you if you need it. And we've got Panda Nation music empowerment time, how to save everything with the tool that is the medicine wheel, and Creativity Rise with breath and song with a woman named Windsong, and then energetic serenity, which I think is going to be really important. Those entities and things that Paula made mention of, this woman works with helping people clear those things from their lives. So that should be pretty powerful and interesting. And then we have Rahim Fatima, who is the Oprah Winfrey, I say, of the 13-year-olds, and she's from Pakistan. She's going to have a panel with a bunch of really fabulous children who really, really care about everything, and it's such a breath of fresh air to see. And I think we're going to do the We the World concert. We'll see how much time we have left. If we don't do it today, we'll do it on the 21st. And then we're going to have closing prayers at the end of the day at 8:45. And once again, Chief Looking Horse and Paula, you're welcome back if you want to help close out the day with some prayer time. But basically, we are here for this day as a day of action to really make this monumental force of the greater good. And I just want to thank and honor everyone in this room right now. Chief Looking Horse, Paula, Grandmother Crossbeer, and Rick Ulfik. My name's Heidi Little, and I thank you guys. Thanks for the We TeleSummit, Rick. We really appreciate you.
Definitely, definitely. And I want to thank everyone as well. As we wind up, I want to let people know that they can find out more about what's going on with 11 Days of Global Unity by going to 11daysofglobalunity.org, and that's 11 with as a numeral. And you can also watch previous TeleSummit panels, like the opening panel that we did, the Summit on the Future of Humanity, with Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Vandana Shiva, by going to We the World's Facebook page, facebook.com/The We Campaign, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/WeTheWorld.org. And to learn more about We the World and the We Campaign, you can find out about all of this by going to we.net. And remember, creating the transformation that we are looking for is not a spectator sport. So we encourage you to collaborate with We the World. Go to we.net/partner, and there you can sign up as an individual and join our We team, or as an organization. So again, thank you all so much. And remember, it's not about me, it's about we. And we're moving towards a we-based society. Thank you all, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Later.
Love you.
Till next time, Diego Waberman.
Bye-bye.